It's so nice to see you here today. So we planned it for a while but couldn't record it. So finally, I'm so excited, so happy today. So yeah, hi guys. I have Amit with me today. He's an expat business development specialist in Germany at Barmer. So he will be talking to us today, sharing us details about the public health insurances, talking about Barmer, and tell us like basically you can get the idea how insurance system works here, whether you are a student, whether you are a professional, and you can get all the information. And then when you are moving here, you can plan your journey and whatsoever all the related things. So yeah, so, Amit, can you please tell us about yourself briefly? So, it will be nice to know.
First thing, thanks for having me over for this conversation and sharing the right information per se with the audience. So, about me, I moved from Dubai to Germany roughly nearly 3 years ago as a student. So, I went through everything that could possibly go wrong as a student and then started working here. Barmer, amazing company to work for. They genuinely care for their customers. So it worked with my own thinking of what I wanted to do and my way of working per se. What I do at Barmer is increase our market share when it comes to expats that come in. So basically, we cater to expat customers, and I help make that possible to a large extent by providing more premium service per se, which Baba already does. So I just add on the whole effect that okay, you have an Hindi speaking character as well as someone at Bama who can even speak Marathi or a bit of Gujarati if it comes to that for ease of communication or
Okay.
Urdu. Because for us at Bama, it's very important that we provide the right information and nothing is lost in translation.
Okay.
So yes, we provide the service in English, but if it comes to it, wherein we have people who go like, I need to talk to someone in Hindi, like ye mere palle nahi pad raha. For instance, you have that ease of communication to actually call up, and they'll be like, okay, you have someone you can talk to, and here's Amit, and he's a sweetheart. He'll actually answer all your questions, and we do that even with people that we can't insure. So it's not like because there's a lot of misconception in the market in Germany whenever expats come here, especially from Asia. You have this belief system that, oh, I come over here and I'm going to be basically, everyone's going to give me amazing service. And then they see that here things take time. You may get a response to an email after like a week, if you're lucky
Yeah.
in some cases. And if you're not categorized as the customer, at times you may not even get that response. At Barmer, we do it differently. So if we can't insure you, we tell you why we can't insure you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we tell you, okay, considering you want ease of communication, try out these options. They are registered in Germany. We have no collab with them because it's technically a competitor. So what I do is I am now part of the student and university hub. Having said this, I still interact with a lot of incoming young professionals who are moving here for their first jobs.
Oh, nice.
So then I would be the right contact person to have the conversation internally, or rather, my team would be the right contact. We have different hubs that cater to different people, be it large companies, startups, and mid range companies, and then universities and students, because that's normally how people move here.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's me in a nutshell and what I do at Barmer.
So perfectly. So to simplify for the guys, so basically you take care of policies, strategies, and help the new students with their like signing up for the insurance, make everything easy
Yeah.
for them, right?
Yeah.
So from the student point of view, this is what you are doing. So new expat student is
Exactly.
coming to Germany. You are representing Barmer, taking care of the main business, and then also your focus are the students mainly plus so that's your role. And then in this video today anyway we will be discussing not just students, we will also be talking about professionals at the insurance at
Yes.
general terms, so
Yes.
that so don't worry, a lot of information is coming on the way. Perfect. Can you tell us about the Barmer public health insurance and how is it different from other public insurances available out there in the market?
Okay, so basically, Barmer Health Insurance is part of the sickness fund. Okay,
Okay.
so when I talk about the sickness fund, so we are part of this fund which has a lot of public insurances. So you have other brands as well. I don't want to name them, but you have other brands as well. And we all work with this set rule that, okay, everyone that comes to Germany needs a basic good public health requirement that has to be met. If they choose not to go with public, there are certain ways. So for instance, if you come in as a young employee, okay, you have to earn a certain limit. So let's say if it is 64,000 euros
Mm-hmm.
and below, you have to be in public health insurance. If it's above this amount, you have the option of opting for private health insurance because they believe that you don't need to be part of the fund, considering that you make enough money to technically pay your own bills if it comes to that. So that's the logical approach to it. Having
Okay.
said this, once you've taken up private, it's very difficult to shift back to public as a young professional because of your income. You have to reduce your income,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of people are not fine with doing. And later on, hopefully, in this call, I'll actually explain the difference between private and public and why it's important and what kind of emphasis we put into it. As a student, again, if you're less than 30, you can be publicly or privately insured. But we explain that as well, that why it would make sense for a student to pick public over private. So now what makes Barmer separate? In terms of health insurance allowances, what all the actual product can be used for or service can be used for is nearly similar in all these companies, at least the top three, which Barmer happens to be a part of. Now the problem arises is what happens after the post-sales service. Pre-sales is easy. You'll find people that go like, we talk English, boom, you'll have your insurance in like 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and that's great.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
also do that, but what sets us apart is not just so. Palmer has we've been winning like a lot of awards for young professionals as well as students and Azubis. Azubis are trainees. Um, Plus point over here is the fact that we give a lot of emphasis to post-sale service. So I would tell in one liner that a customer that comes to us is the one that gives customer service the most importance. Because for us, literally, customer is king, which is rare to kind of hear in Germany. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
with us, again, we are very laid back, very approachable, chill people. Like, look at me, I'm always smiling. We are genuinely like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Perfect. That's so wonderful. So I picked up two or three things what you mentioned. So first thing is that, as you said, you are the face who is representing to the expat and all that. So that's a good thing. Somebody is looking for a English speaker, because in the beginning, person doesn't speak the English, doesn't speak the German in the starting. So it's this is easy on top of the high quality services Barmer is
Yeah,
currently providing, right? So that's the one point. Plus you mentioned that your team is always open to help, not just to
yeah,
insurances. So that's so wonderful. I think that's so helpful for somebody who is new, doesn't know so many people around, so that's helpful.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And the one last thing I want to clarify here, like you mentioned in the beginning, that there is a limit of 64,000. So just to simplify, to my understanding, so it is specifically applicable to the employees, so who is working in Germany and who got an offer above 64,000 euros, right? Then the person can choose whether to register for private health insurance or whether to choose
Yes,
the public health insurance.
yes.
And if you got an offer below 64,000,
Then you
then
don't have an option. It's only
yeah,
public.
yeah, then it's mandatory, so you have no choice, your whole family will go into public.
At times you'll be like, okay, chalo, I'll take the private insurance. It's going to be cheaper. Like it's cheaper if you're an individual single person. Yes, it
Yeah.
starts becoming expensive when if you've decided to come with your wife. Okay,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
decided to come with your migrating your entire family of wife
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah,
start studying
yeah,
in the school
yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. True, true.
Take public because you're going to pay for each individual
Yeah,
policy
yeah.
if
Like,
you have a
yeah,
private
like
option.
what I know is that, let's say for private you might pay 500 as a single, and for public you might end up pay 700 or 800 as a single. But the good thing is that you get married, you have the kids, so you can start
Yes.
multiplying this 500
Dependence.
with the number of
Yes.
people. So it will be 1,000, it will be 1,500 euros if you into
And
private, right?
and
And
this has happened. Yeah.
yeah, if you are into
Yeah.
public, then this 800 will still remain 800, whether you are one person
Exactly.
or
And yeah, and there are caps, like people end up thinking that, okay, if I'm going to earn €1 million per se, which is possible, a lot of people make that kind of money. Yeah. Then they'll be like, okay, egal, for me, it's fine. I'm okay with whatever.
mm-hmm.
But let's be realistic. They then presume that you're not capped because it's a percentage that goes out of your salary. They presume that this percentage is going to take everything away. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not the thing because you actually have a limit. I believe the maximum in a year they can charge you for insurance is like 6 or 7,000 euros. Like
Okay.
it does not cross this on the most highest income bracket. I think it's less than 6,000 unless they've increased it this year. Then maybe. So imagine like 5,400 or something was like last year or last year. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the maximum you will pay towards health insurance, irrelevant to what your salary package is.
Okay. I get that.
So you're capped. You don't make more money. Like you don't rather pay more
That
money. So
that is the cap on public, not on private.
yeah, not on private because private you pay a fixed amount,
Okay.
which tends to increase every year if you are facing conditions.
Okay. I get that.
And when that happens, let's say like biggest example, private insurance can actually reject you based on the key fact that you have an existing precondition,
Mm-hmm.
and they can reject your application on these grounds.
Yeah, I get that.
Public insurance doesn't look at all of that because they are like, this is significant. They have to cover the minimum necessary requirements set by the law. So
Okay.
they don't discriminate if you've had any pre-existing conditions, which would be expensive to them to insure you. They don't think like that.
Okay.
Private companies do. So yeah.
Yeah. So in the sense that, okay, if you have the pre-existing any public insurance, you go, they have to accept that, and that's it. You are insured. There are no tests or whatsoever in general in public insurance. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So what is the legal reason behind that everybody must be insured? Do you like? Can you explain that?
Okay, so this was a rule that Germany came out with like 13, 14 years ago, wherein they were like, they don't want to face issues like other massively developed countries,
Mm-hmm.
wherein people do not have access to good healthcare.
Okay.
So they made a rule that everyone that stays in Germany long term
Mm-hmm.
needs it.
Okay. So that's
And that was the thinking. That's the reason why the sickness funds were created. They
okay.
are like the minimum basic necessary medical care has to be provided. So that's where the sickness fund came in.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell us how does insurance system works here? Like, basically, what's the whole thing is functioning?
Okay, so the way insurance system works is like I already discussed about the sickness fund, wherein all public insurance companies are part of this group that help support most of the population here. Like 90% of Germany is publicly insured.
Okay.
Okay, you have like 10%, or that number keeps changing slightly, but that's the ratio they go about, that are privately insured.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is based on the employment laws, but a massive chunk is where people genuinely want public insurance because we are considered one of the best in the world for it.
Okay. I,
And it is more cost effective than everywhere else, comparing what all you get back.
okay.
Okay. So, how does the system work? So, that is your health insurance system. In terms of public health care, you basically get a health card. Okay. Once everything is done, your paperwork is sorted, you get a health card, and that health card is more like your identity card that you use when you walk into a doctor, clinic, at times pharmacy as well, a certain prescribed medication. You have to like prove that
Yeah.
you're so and so, and things on those lines. So what happens is it's very convenient, it's very easy. With private insurance, it's the completely opposite way. In the sense being, you go, you do a payment first,
Yeah.
and then you get your invoices and your bills,
Yeah.
which may or may not be cleared in a time period of 15 days to a month.
Okay. 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 So,
And depending if it's an expensive costing, then at times the private insurance company is willing to give you like excess that, okay, look, it's going to cost you 5,000-6,000 euros. So we are willing to help you out with the payment beforehand because you've given us invoices for it.
so,
That's rare, but it happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you have the public insurance, somebody gets sick, visits the doctor or visits the pharmacy. First goes to
Hmm.
the doctor, gets the like consultation. Then the person
Yeah.
doesn't have to pay anything, and then he goes to the pharmacy, and there he gets the medicine. Like maybe pay nominal charges, right?
Yeah. So
And
there
then
is there is a nominal charge. Good, you brought this up. So the nominal charge is actually not for the medication. It is for the paperwork of processing that.
oh, okay.
So you pay anywhere from 5 euros to a maximum of 10 euros for that paperwork.
Hmm.
And the reasoning you pay it again is because of the processing and everything. It has nothing to do with the cost of the medication.
Okay.
In most cases, your prescribed medication will cost you anywhere between 100 euros to 300 euros, at times even upwards.
Yeah.
Like personally, my own medication for my intestine was, I believe, um, that's because I have access and I work. I wanted to check how much does this medication genuinely cost, and my medication was for 700 euros, and
Mhm.
I just paid 10 euros for the paperwork.
That's so like 790 euros covered in the insurance out of 800. Like it's so
Exactly. And see,
yeah.
that's the thing. People, I'm not saying in private, maybe it won't be covered. All that will also be covered in private. I don't want to diss private, but at least with public, I know what I'm getting beforehand, and there's no question marks later on. Because let's
Yeah.
be realistic, when
So
something is private, they are more
yeah.
money conscious than if it was by law.
So
So
it depends
yeah,
on the kind of private policy you have
exactly,
registered for.
exactly.
If you have registered for the lower tier policy, and then you will
That is the
have,
worst thing you
yeah,
can do.
yeah. So lower tier
Hmm.
policy, private one you have registered, and then you pay upfront for all the medication, and then there is no guarantee you are going to get back the money or not.
It's happened with me when I was a student. When I moved here, I was about 31, or rather, I was 31 when I moved here. So I couldn't be publicly insured, and I was privately insured as a student. Mine was a middle range tier. Okay, so it wasn't the cheapest one, but it wasn't the most expensive one.
So
So I was like, I don't want to spend so much, so I will go with the mid range. And I read online that the private is the best thing. You get easy access to doctors and everything is good.
no,
All that is not true.
that's
And
wrong.
I learned that the hard way because when I fell ill and I thought I had to get admitted to a hospital, I actually went into the emergency room and they go like, okay, show us your health card. And I'm like, what health card? Like, these are my policy papers. And then they go like, oh, you're privately insured. Like literally the look on their face was like, oh God. Then the doctor was sweet enough. He told me, please come sit over here. We'll tell you when a doctor is available. I still had to wait for 6 hours
Okay.
for a doctor to come see me for 2 minutes. And after 2 minutes, the doctor goes like, okay, wait for 1 more hour. And then we do one small blood test. By the seventh or eighth hour, the doctor goes like, okay, we need to do more tests. You need a colonoscopy, endoscopy, and an ultrasound. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And then he's like, no, you need to go to the finance department, find out the pricing, book an appointment. And I was like, wait. Okay, I find out. They quoted me somewhere around 2,300, 2,600 euros for just the tests. Till now, I've not been treated. I've not gotten medication. And then I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll, like book it. Because I'm under the impression I have a mid-range good coverage. Till they tell me that, oh, we are not considering you're privately insured and this is the brand you're insured with. Though it's a German brand and most of the students use it. I don't want to name them here.
Yeah, yeah.
So it reached a point that they genuinely told me that why don't you get in touch with your insurance provider and actually check if they are willing to pay for this. I was like, what do you mean? They are like, no, trust us, we face this. We don't want you booking a slot till you're really sure because that slot someone else can use
Okay.
who has it all already sorted, unlike you.
Okay.
I checked with my insurance provider. It took me like 5 days to get a response saying that, sorry, it's just a suggestion and it's not an emergency, so it won't be covered.
Ah.
I had the money. I flew home to Dubai, got checked, treated, flew back in like 3 weeks.
I got
And
that.
it still cost me less in
Yeah.
comparison to what I would have paid here. Now,
Yeah.
let's be realistic. I had the money, I could do it. How many students have that access in their account to actually take that kind of chance? Like, realistically, I always tell students if you want private insurance, even if you qualify for public insurance, take it only if you have 1,000 or 2,000 spare in your account. If you don't have it, doesn't make sense.
So people talk about the social security system, and there is always confusion between the social security and health insurance. So can you tell what's the difference between both of them? Are they same or what is it?
Okay, so your social security insurance is basically think of it with a number of pillars, and health insurance is only one of the pillars.
Okay.
Okay, so you have different things fall under it. You have long term care insurance, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you have pension insurance, unemployment insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You also have casualty insurance, but that is completely managed by your employer. So there are technically 5 sections. One of it happens to be health insurance. The other four are considered part of social security. So
Okay.
that's why when you come here as a student, for instance, you don't work, so you don't have to contribute to any of this. The only thing you contribute to is per se health insurance and maybe long term care insurance
Mm-hmm.
in some cases. With public insurance, when you take it, they actually keep aside for long term care as well. So this is, let's say you face disability and you have to be long term insured and you're living off insurance, it's for that.
Okay.
Okay. Then you have a particular pension insurance, which is also what happens if, like after you're done with your job,
Mm-hmm.
the state pays you back for your survival.
So kind of retirement benefit.
Yes. Then
Okay.
you've got casualty insurances. That's mainly, let's say you faced an issue on the way to work, an accident on the way to work, which could result in like disability or whichever, even if it's an accident that needs to be covered. Let's say this happened at work.
Mm-hmm.
That is also covered, but this is something you don't pay for, your employer pays for.
Okay.
Okay. You have unemployment insurance, which is mainly to train you if you lose your job or if you're between jobs and some support so that you can at least pay till have a standard of living till
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
actually get the next job, which
Yeah.
is not the case when you come from Asia because like if you're between jobs, you're basically on your own savings.
Yeah, until let's say you are permanent resident or you have spent 1 year at least.
2 years.
2 years.
It's like so the way it works is your minimum contribution to the social security has to be 2 years and above. And then if you faced it, then they'll be like, okay, what help
So
do you want? So this unemployment insurance in terms of trainings also includes access to learning Deutsch. You
uh,
know,
perfect.
like of course you can
So
always
so
claim that back in taxes,
yeah.
but
So
yeah.
practically, let's put it in a practical terms. somebody gets fired. So if he has already spent 2 years paid for the social security, so then he will be covered by those benefits for 1 year if he has paid for 2 years. Okay, so and then next question would be, what's all covered in the public health insurance in terms of sicknesses?
Okay, so this is a very common question I normally get, because when you take up a private insurance provider, you normally get a list of what all is not covered more
Okay.
than what all is covered. With public insurance, there isn't a list like this. So everything that is deemed necessary is covered, including dental. So, for example, if you all your checkups is covered, okay. I will come back to the dental point as well. What exactly in dental is covered? All your checkups is covered. All your medication is covered, because, like I told earlier, you don't pay for the medicine if it's prescribed. You're paying for the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Your vaccinations at Barmer, that's good. Even your travel vaccinations are covered. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, when you go, the way it works is you buy the vaccine at the pharmacy, you normally take it back to your GP, who's your general practitioner doctor, who then gives you the injection, and then you're done with it. In most cases, you've paid paperwork for this vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
but that is also completely covered. Okay. Currently, COVID, again, completely covered for all service providers.
Mm-hmm.
Vaccine. Okay. Um, then what else is there? In dental, all emergencies are covered. By emergencies, I mean your dental checkup twice a year is covered. Your normal cleaning, wherein they are removing the tartar, is also covered once a year. But
Mm-hmm.
when you want a professional cleaning, because years ago we used to cover it in public insurance, but then it started becoming too expensive to the sickness fund.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, okay, this is extra. This is professional teeth cleaning, teeth whitening. It's not a necessity deemed in terms of an emergency.
Yeah.
Having said this, your bridges are covered, at times your crowns are covered, depending on what state they are in. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you need fillings, you need to remove your teeth, you need surgery that is required because it's really bad. That all would be covered. So I always tell, at least at Barmer, we tell our customers, go get everything checked. The doctor will give you a quotation as to how much it's going to cost you. Send it to us. Give us 2 days. We will see how much we can cover off it. So at least you have a clear idea. And that's the reason why a lot of people take an extra insurance on top, which is they have a state insurance, or rather public insurance provider. And on top of that, they take an extra dental insurance
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just to cover the dental things. Because imagine if your filling is not the ceramic type that we are used in Asia,
Mm-hmm.
where it's the gray one that looks like cement.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like these are the differences. Your anesthesia would also be different when you're being operated on. It's different when you pay more, and the basic one is going that is covered is not even technically considered as anesthesia according to people. So it varies. So anything that is deemed emergency required right away, public healthcare covers right away.
For teeth.
Private on the sorry.
For dental.
Yeah, for dental. And the same goes with everything else. Like, for instance, you go to your GP tells you that, okay, you go like, I'm having allergies or skin issues. Okay, because a lot of people want to go see a dermatologist who's also a specialist, or an eye doctor who's also a specialist, or a cardiologist who's also a specialist. So you have a way of doing it. You go to your GP, you talk to your GP checks you out. Then your GP, in most cases that we've seen, actually helps you get an appointment slot, because if you sit to look yourself, your specialist is also going to ask you that who referred you to me? Did you go through the general way of going about it? See,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a case if you're completely private insured, because you can practically walk in anywhere because you're a paying customer. So
Yeah.
they will entertain you because you're a paying customer.
Yeah.
But when you're going in with public insurance, they are very strict about the hierarchy and the proper system and the paperwork.
Yeah.
So they go like, okay, you do this. Then your GP tells you that, okay, head to meet a particular doctor if it's a cardiologist. Then all of that is covered. You don't, because the GP sent you. So yeah,
So idea is that it's all covered, but it's just that there is a bureaucracy involved.
yeah. There's
Let's
a
put it in that
bureaucracy
way. Yeah,
involved.
let's put it in that way. So good thing
Hmm.
is that it's covered, so that you will definitely get the treatment. You will not be
Yes. They
yeah,
will they will not get to hear that हमें माफ करो ये covered नहीं है. Like
okay.
even if it's, but of course if it's not logical for us as a public
Yeah,
company part of the sickness fund, we
yeah,
make it very clear. Like for instance, professional cleaning, and we have other benefits we give if you do it.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we'll give you point system and all at Barmer, but we will
Yeah.
not cover it completely. So
I
yeah,
get that. I get that. So overall, cosmetics will not be covered. Cosmetic teeth,
yes.
cosmetic. Let's say you want to go
Anything
for
you want,
laser
any
surgery.
plastic in your body, no.
Yeah, laser surgery or whatsoever is not done. Okay, all
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, so next question is how to report sickness in case somebody gets sick. In case of both students as well as professionals.
Okay, so the plus point is that when you're a student, the only person, a student who's not employed, okay,
Okay.
but let's say you have to give proof to your university if you skipped an exam.
Okay.
You, as a student, you get two copies. Okay,
Mhm.
one is for your insurance provider, one is for yourself. So
Mhm.
that your own copy, you can scan it and send it to your university. Um, Earlier, you would have to send us a physical copy of the one meant for the Kakan Kasa. But from 2021, they automated it. So there is no extra paperwork for the insurance provider anymore. It goes
Okay.
directly.
Okay.
Okay. Then we've got another option as well, wherein it is about so when you're an employee, yes, it's slightly trickier because you get three options that you give out. So your first option is for your employer,
Mhm.
which you still hand in because they calculate your sick leave based on that. For the insurance provider, you don't have to because it's automatically generated. And then you get your own copy as well. So
Mhm.
that's the way it is.
Okay. Perfect.
So it's
So
simple, and you just
so
email it across so that give them the actual copy in hand so that they can generally calculate it.
yeah,
Yeah,
so you just take the copy from the doctor and then give one copy to the employer and keep one with you. So
yeah.
that's the idea. Perfect. And how to claim your expenses for whatever you spent on your treatment or whatsoever.
So that's the best part. With public healthcare, you don't pay anything extra, so there are no claiming as such.
Hmm.
When you claim something, it's more like, let's say if something went wrong and you were in a different country in Europe, which still covers it, and in some cases you paid. So then you have these bills, you come to us with it, and then we check, and then we pay back a limited amount of it. So
Okay.
in that particular manner, that's how we would go about it.
So that means, let's say if you are in Germany, you don't have to pay upfront
Yes.
insurance, public insurance. Barmer will cover it all. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So in Germany, they say that sick leaves, you can, people really like that sick leaves are separate from your holidays, right? Let's
Yes.
say somebody goes into gets really seriously sick. Let's say
Yeah.
he's into the hospital for a month, and then maybe he has to go for rest or whatsoever for 2 3 months. Then what happens? Like who takes care of that person in those 3 4 months? Who
Okay.
takes
So
the
your
responsibility?
so for the first 6 weeks, it's your employer.
Okay.
Okay. So once you have completed your 1 month probation or whatever, and then you have 6 weeks. If you fall ill for the first 6 weeks, your employer pays for it. From your 6 week onwards, you, Barmer or your insurance provider who's public would pay for it.
So that means your employer will pay you the salary for first 6 weeks, and afterwards there has to be
Insurance provider.
certain percentage to be paid by the insurance, right?
Yeah, which
And
is roughly, if I'm not wrong, somewhere around 60 to 70%.
yeah,
I've never faced it myself, and we have a different department that looks into it. So yeah.
yeah, that's true. It's somewhere between 60 to 70. That's what I also know.
Hmm.
Okay. So, for how much long duration sicknesses are covered? Let's say somebody gets sick more than a year or so, then how much duration do you think the person will be covered by the insurance?
I think it was last I checked because I just had like a quick info on it when I was trained, and that was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, it was roughly around 76 or 78 months.
Okay, okay. So it's more than 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, they calculate in a way. I know that, and this is for anything related to the same illness.
Okay.
So let's say it's a whole new illness, that whole time period starts again.
Okay. And how to pay for insurances when you are a student and when you are an employee?
Okay, so when you are an employee, everything gets deducted from your gross salary. All your social security contributions
Mm-hmm.
get deducted from your salary, just like your taxes.
Okay.
So it's like we say it in German, you have your brutto, which then turns into your netto.
Yeah.
And it's simple. You don't have to be worried. Everything is done. You basically just, if you take up Barmer, we give you the paperwork. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to tell your employer. You don't even have to show them the paperwork as proof in most cases, because most of the employers have heard about us as a insurance provider. So you just tell them that my insurance provider is Barmer, and here's the paperwork they've given me in case you want to be more sure. And then they just get in touch with our contribution center at the start or end of the month, going like, okay, we have this new employee who says he's insured under you all. Please check if this is true. Then we
Okay.
make sure we pay our contributions for health insurance to you all.
Okay.
So that's the way it's going to be. Right.
Okay. So
With students, it's different though. With students, it is based on the fact that you've got you have to pay it yourself. So you have the option of depositing it into a number of Barmer accounts with your user ID or your insurance number and things like that as reference. But that is not advisable because students tend to forget when they have to pay. And then there's always a small amount of late fee that adds on, which could mess up your shufa in the long run.
yeah.
So what we suggest is give us a SEPA mandate so that we make sure that it is the right amount that you're paying every month and we don't have to constantly follow up. Because
Okay.
let's say if a student's not paid for 3 months, 4 months, we'll ask once, twice, thrice. And then all public insurance companies get it outsourced and that affects your shufa.
Okay.
So SEPA mandate is always the best way to go about it so that you do not screw up your credit history.
Okay, perfect. So just to summarize, employer will take once you are insured, you tell to your employer, okay, this is my insurance number. Employer will take care of all the paperwork and whatsoever
Yeah,
with the insurance company, and then the amount will be taken from your salary month on month. You don't have to be worried for this, and then you
yeah,
get the payslip where you see that okay, this is the amount which has been
yes,
taken off from your salary for insurance, all five
correct.
insurances,
All
right?
five
Yeah.
insurances.
And then for students, student has to have to pay upfront from their bank account for their monthly insurance, so which would be
Yes.
roughly 120 euros
It's
in case of
it's
farmer.
it's in the range. So it's actually now because all insurance providers increase their pricing. Barmer charges like in the range of 111 to 113.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you have other providers that are like that are at par with us. That must be like 1 or 2 euros cheaper. Like
Okay.
once upon a time, there was a massive gap between the payments. But now, considering they've kind of made it all equated, they are like, okay, you all are the top three, then we can't have that much of a difference in the price.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
I get that. So it brings me to another question for employees. Let's say I have a salary of 5,000 euros a month. So
Hmm.
if I'm not wrong, the employee has to pay 14.5% every month for on out of this 5,000 euros a month, right? Including everything.
That plus, okay, no. So the way, if you are talking about insurance calculation over here, let's say someone earns 5,000 euros a month.
Mhm.
Okay. Out of this 5,000 euros, the 14% you're telling is the basic public fund insurance.
Okay.
On top of that, there's another point. Like It could be 1.1, 1.5,
Okay.
in some cases 0.9. Okay. Uh, this is the additional percentage which goes to the individual insurance company. That's their fees. So
Okay.
there's a minimum you pay for the sickness fund, and then there's this additional small percentage you pay for your insurance provider. This
Okay.
is in case your insurance provider is premium, then they'll charge you 1.1, which is us.
Okay.
There's one provider which would charge you like zero point 0.9.
Okay.
So it varies which provider you've taken for that difference. But when you do the overall math, there isn't a massive difference.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So if I say let's consider a very high level example. Let's stick to 15% in total, just in
Yeah,
case. Right. So out of 5,000, then the person will end up paying 750 euros a month. Right.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
But then.
But
Mhm.
there's a catch. There's a catch. You pay 750 euros a month, but you're paying half of it and your employer pays half.
Yes, that's also true. So you are paying 375 and rest
That's right.
375 will be paid by the employer. And
Yeah.
then even if you are highly paid employee, like you said earlier, if you are 100,000 or maybe 200,000, then if we add up all the monthly payments, then you will not be paying more than 7,000 euros from your
Yes, which
pocket.
is the cap. Which
Yeah,
is the cap.
yeah,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect. It's all clear. Okay. So, what do you recommend to students? What insurance to pick up, whether public or private, and why?
I always tell pick public. There's clear reasoning. There's actually a reason why they keep saying German healthcare is the best, and then why 90% are publicly insured.
Mm-hmm.
There's a logic behind it. I would want peace of mind if I have an identity card that I can just take with me and show it and go like, look, here's the identity card, and I can like that's my health card per se. I like because it has your photo on it. I like calling it identity card.
Yeah, yeah,
But you can use it to actually go ahead and you can do what you want, and it is more clear, more specific. That you there are no hidden costs.
yeah,
It's crystal clear.
yeah, yeah,
There's always a clear thing. Like if you ask us, we'll tell you, yes, this is covered, this is not covered, which you know beforehand,
yeah.
which is not the situation with private insurance. Because though you have a policy and everything, first thing is private makes sense for you if you don't have money and you've never fallen ill and
Mm-hmm.
you believe you will never fall ill, go for private. It's cost effective. I agree to that. But the catch over here is just for those emergencies, make sure you have minimum 1,000 euros extra in your bank account called healthcare fund.
Okay,
If you don't have this, do not go for private, especially if you are qualified.
okay.
Like if you are less than 30, you're qualified for public insurance and take it. It's at a discounted rate, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, when you're a good private insurance policy will cost you 200 euros.
As a student.
So, as a student, also, like as an individual, anything upwards of as a student, I tell students that please take something at least above 80. You don't want it that whatever you go, they tell that it's not covered because it's not an emergency kind of situation.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you have to like play around with the words used. So always make sure you have excess money. If you don't have excess money and you think you'll never use any service, it's a different deal. But you can't, like, we are in a time span where there's COVID, where you could be hospitalized. Okay, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to be in that capacity to take that kind of risk?
I get that.
Especially considering you're coming, let's say, from India, wherein what, 1 euro is 89 rupees. If you do the math of 1 day bill of like 300, 400 euros, how much money you're constantly expecting your family to shell out if you don't have it yourself?
Yeah, true, true, true.
So I would always go based on what is cost effective. Public insurance long term is cost effective, especially if you're a 29-year-old student, Paul, who's married in India and is moving to Germany with his wife, which
Okay,
happens. I have met so
okay.
many students who've come here with their spouse. go with public insurance because you qualify, because your wife or your partner would be then a dependent.
Yeah.
And that cost again gets divided between two people,
I,
which is not the case with private insurance.
I got that. I got that. And
And
just
biggest point is pre-existing conditions. Yeah,
yeah,
you
just
know.
one. Can you also give an example how much, from an employer perspective, how much amount the premium can be for a good insurance, private one could be for one person. Forget about the family. For one person.
For an employee or a young student, upwards of 200 euros per month.
But in that case,
Like I can name it here. Allianz. Allianz is considered the best private insurance provider.
but in
Okay.
that case, 200 is not too less compared to say 500-600 for public insurance.
Yes, it is not. But then we are thinking long-term paperwork, no?
Okay.
We are like, is this person going to be single all his life and not catch any illness in the future? Because you have to understand, with us, the increase in the insurance is increase for everyone, which is a minute amount.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you may pay this much based on how much your salary increases, but there's no requisite that will go like, okay, like you this, if you're pregnant, you shouldn't be pregnant, like a pregnancy should be after a year or something on those lines, like to break it down as an example. As a privately insured person, you'll face a lot of roadblocks because let's be realistic, how many of them genuinely want to pay up their
Ye-
customers?
Yeah. So to understand properly, so that means if you're going for a private one, you will get the list upfront that in your insurance, in your case, due to pre-existing, or you are single or you're married, these things, these illnesses are not being covered. You get the list upfront.
Exactly.
So which is not
Yeah, they'll go like this is not covered or it would be covered at more premium.
okay. Perfect.
And
Perfect.
you have to understand your insurance policy and private insurance also is not fixed. Let's say you're paying 200 euros now. You're not going to be paying 200 euros 15 years down the line
Yeah.
when you're a family of four.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you're in your 40s.
I get that. So you keep adding for the family member and all that. So
And
yeah.
and that's when we've seen employees that were with private. I have friends that make 7,000 euros a month gross are on private insurance, want to shift to public because they see a problem they are going to face 10 years down the line.
Yeah. And they
And
can.
now can't because they do not want to earn lesser income
Yeah.
or be unemployed for a year, for instance, or 2 years, you
Yeah.
know,
I
just
get.
so that they match the thing or get back on the job or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's too much of a hassle to do it.
Yeah.
And let's be realistic. So it's always safer. I tell this to people, if you are making a lot of money and you are eligible for public insurance, take public insurance. On top of it, take a supplementary insurance to cover the private approach of it.
Okay.
You want a better hospital room.
Okay.
You want better access to doctors. Your supplementary insurance on top of your public helps. Yes, when you do the math, you'll be like, oh, I'm still paying way more money. But that is like, okay, you have the money.
Yeah.
You want a more premium approach to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here we are giving you this and
But
this.
yeah, but anyway, in public insurance as well, you still get the access to the hospitalization and access to the
Exactly.
doctor is still very good, I would say.
It's very good.
Yeah.
But this is for people who are, let's say, making that kind of money wherein they
Yeah.
are accustomed to it.
Who has extra money to throw away? Let's put it in that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the question would be how one person can switch between from private to public insurance. Let's say person has signed up for private and now he wants to come back to public. Is it really possible? If not, like
It is. There are loopholes. There are
okay,
many loopholes. That's a plus point. And
okay,
that's why we have specialists because we know these loopholes and we can share it with said customers if required. So, for example, one loophole is students above the age of 30.
okay,
Okay. Um, though they want public insurance, they can't opt for it till they have a full-time contract
mm-hmm.
or they have an employer who is willing to pay half their social security contributions.
Okay.
Having said this, that means the student is also going to pay taxes.
So that means the person must convert to employee insurance.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that is possible, but that also not like a mini job or a part-time job won't cut it. It has to be a proper contract or a requisite in the checklist by the employer that all our employees need to have statutory healthcare or something on those lines, so we can play it around
I
for
get
the
it.
customer's benefit.
Okay. So let's say I'm a first year student. I studied for the whole year, first year, and I had the private health insurance from XYZ company.
Hmm.
Now, second year, I decided, okay, I want to go for a public one. Is it possible?
No,
So,
no, because let's say if this person is most likely going to have a student job, it's
mhm.
very rare for students to get full-time job while they are still registered students. It's rare. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. For those people that it happens, we have this loophole.
I
But
get.
otherwise, the waiver we give out when a person opts for private is for the entire duration of the education. And that is common with all public insurance providers. So they can't even, because if we try to insure this person, the contribution center gets a flag waved off going like, oh, we've already handed this student a waiver and this person is a registered student till this year.
Okay.
So till this year, this person has to be privately insured, and it can be any private insurance that's registered out of Germany. We don't have to. It's not our headache. We don't have to look into it. Like that's normally the thinking. With
Mhm.
us, though, we want to insure the person we can.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, but another thing, in case of employee, like you already explained, somebody is until 6,400 a month must be publicly insured, and then if person is like say get started getting 7,000 euros a year next maybe, and then he decides to switch to the private. So then there cannot be comeback for that person from private to public until the salary is 6,400
Reduced.
or reduced. Yeah. So that's
So the way they do it is they either take a couple of long months off so
okay.
that their overall salary reduces,
Yeah, okay.
or they what they do is they kind of get unemployed for a time being
Okay.
and then start again.
Okay. I
So
get.
those are the loopholes, which again it's because it's specific to each customer's case. We can't even discuss it because it varies in each person's case how to go about it. But in
Okay.
most cases that I've seen, because people are not fine with reducing their income in any way, for them it becomes super hard to shift. So in that case, what they do is if they've kept theirs private, they make sure their partner, at least one of the two spouses, has public insurance.
Okay. Yeah. Then you can always be dependent, and then
No, that's the thing. You can only be a dependent as long as you are a non-income earning individual.
yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
So let's say someone quits their job. So this is I'm giving you a loophole. So let's
I
say
got that.
someone,
You got
yes,
to go back to public, and then once you are into public, you search for the job again.
you know, or you take like a, unpaid leave and you tell the company that for 7-8 months I'm not going to work, or you genuinely lose your job. Okay,
Okay.
and
Okay.
during this time period you're a dependent on your wife's public insurance
Yeah.
or your partner's public insurance, and then you take up a new job, automatically that gets converted because you're a dependent.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. And what are the additional insurances a person can go for, consider to go for on top of health insurance? What other things do you recommend?
Okay, so like health insurance itself was a massive shock. I had not heard of the other types of insurances Germany has, other than the house content insurance, because we have that in Dubai as well.
Hausratversicherung. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know the German words for any of it,
Yeah.
but I do know the English words for it. So you have the house contents, you have the liability insurance is a massive thing over here. In fact, some courses where you study, you may be working with really expensive equipment. And in those courses, that's a requisite that you have liability insurance.
Okay.
So liability insurance, house content, if you rent a place, where you've packed it with really expensive stuff, it makes sense to take it. Liability insurance is basically a third party insurance wherein, due to you, someone faced a particular loss of some type, that insurance covers them.
Oh,
Okay?
okay.
Not if that loss happened to you yourself.
Okay.
Then a very common one is also liability legal insurance. This
Okay.
is for court cases and stuff like that if it comes to it.
Okay.
Separately, we've also seen people who want to have pets over here actually take out pet insurances, because in most cases you pay heavy taxes for your pets, like if it's a
Yeah.
dog,
Yeah.
and here they give your pet that kind of importance. So then you have insurances for that. Definitely dental insurance on top for the best quality of dental stuff. Like all the emergencies would be covered. But let's say you're living here long term and you may not be the sort who travels back to India or Asia or Middle East maybe every year, maybe once in 3 years or 5 years, and this is your house. Then it makes sense to have it, because then you can use all these set services here. Your emergencies are covered, so for that you don't need it as such. You know,
Perfect.
if you travel home back to India, always get whatever you want over there. It's much more cheaper and convenient.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So I think, yeah, you have covered everything. So yeah, so that was it, and I really enjoyed the discussion with you. So it's so wonderful, and really thank you for coming on the channel and doing this with me.